Hey guys! So this week I'm super excited to introduce you guys a brand new artist. His name is Norman Rockwell, and he's an artist that I have known about for a long time, but I've actually never taught an art project about him before. So I'm really excited to introduce him to you because you may not have heard about him before. One of the reasons that I think he's pretty great for us to learn about is that he's American. He's from the United States of America, which is kind of cool because a lot of the artists that we learn about are from different countries, like Italy or France is where some of the most popular, famous artists are from. And so it's not very often that we get to learn about an artist that's from America. So this is Norman Rockwell. He was born in New York City, and he wanted to be an artist since he was a little kid. He was always wanting to be an artist, and he actually had a really important art job when he was only 16 years old. He was in charge of all of the art for a magazine for the Boy Scouts when he was only 16, which is pretty impressive. When he was only 21, he moved to a different city in New York, and he became a magazine cover illustrator. And an illustrator is someone who paints and draws for magazines, books, advertisements, and even Christmas cards. And when he was only 22, he painted a cover for a very famous magazine called the Saturday Evening Post, which you guys can see here. And he ended up painting 321 covers for the Post, which is pretty impressive. That is a lot of paintings. And that is what he became the most famous for, is his covers on this magazine called the Saturday Evening Post. Norman Rockwell painted everyday scenes like kids at school, families having dinner, and boys enjoying the outdoors with simple things like fishing and playing ball. And people loved his paintings because they represented everyday things that Americans did. Things like walking your dog, going to school, like I said, eating dinner, going fishing, visiting the dentist, things that Americans did all the time. And so Americans really like his art because they're things that they do in their own life. They're things that they can relate to and things that you and I can relate to as well. Things that we do too in our everyday life. And people really like his art because it's really realistic. The people look really real, and I personally like them a lot because the expressions are really fun. Sometimes they're silly, sometimes they're happy. They're not very serious, which I kind of like. Norman Rockwell was very proud of his country. He was very proud of the fact that he was from the United States. Sometimes we call that patriotic. He was very patriotic. He liked to paint the special moments in our lives, and he had a way of making ordinary things extraordinary. He was a very talented artist. I chose this painting on this slide because at the beginning of the school year, we did self-portraits. And one of the things that I told you is that artists do self-portraits. A lot of artists create self-portraits. Almost all artists create self-portraits, including you and me. And so I decided to include this self-portrait that Norman Rockwell did of himself to show you guys another style of self-portrait. And his is pretty fun because he did a self-portrait of himself drawing himself, which I think is kind of fun. You can kind of see his silly side, I think, in that. All right, so now one thing I would like you guys to do is to think of some character traits of Norman Rockwell. So I know this is something that you guys do when you read stories. So we recently in first and second grade read Pete the Cat, and some character traits of Pete the Cat might be that he's blue, that he doesn't move his mouth when he talks in the stories, he's groovy, he has buttons, right? So those are some character traits, some ways that we can describe Pete the Cat. So I would like you guys on your own to think of some ways that I just described Norman Rockwell in the previous slides. So I want you guys to think of 5 character traits. So 5 ways that you would describe Norman Rockwell. Some things that my students came up with earlier this week was that he was an artist, that he was very talented, which meant that he was a very good artist. Some people said he was patriotic, because he loved America. He loved that he was from America, which is actually why I included this artwork that's on this slide, which is a drawing that Norman Rockwell did of himself. So I guess you could call this another self-portrait. And it's actually of himself voting, which is kind of cool because we just had a really important election, and voting is something that's really important to Americans. We really think that our ability to vote is very important because it is. It's our chance to have our voice heard. And so Norman Rockwell also felt that this was very important for Americans and for himself. And he was very happy about the fact that he was able to vote. And so this self-portrait is actually of him voting. So patriotic could be another way that you could describe Norman Rockwell. I hope you guys came up with a couple more on your own. All right, next slide. All right, so you can see why I chose this artist and this painting for right now, maybe. So I would like you guys to answer these 5 questions. So first, what do you see in this painting? What do you see in this painting? What is going on? What is happening? What do you observe in this painting? All right, and then the next one is another question that I'm sure you guys answer when you read books, which is, what is the setting? What is the setting of this painting? Where are they? Some of my students this week said that they look like they're at Grandma's house. And they could tell that they were at Grandma's house because Grandma's the one holding the turkey. And usually the person making the meal is the person who's hosting, right? So the person whose house you're at. And also people said that it looks like it could be Grandma's house because of how the room is decorated. Sometimes grandmas are more likely to have wallpaper and fancy curtains and things like that. So they said it was Grandma's house. Is that what you said? Is that where you think that they're at in this painting? Maybe. So the title of this painting is called Freedom from Want. And I want to know why you think that this painting might be called Freedom from Want. Freedom from Want. If we think of the word freedom, and we think of the word want, want means that we want, like, we would like to have something. And the reason Norman Rockwell called this painting Freedom from Want is because he felt that the people in this painting didn't need anything. They have everything they need. So if you noticed, all the people in this painting seem very happy, right? They're all like leaning in and chatting and talking to each other. You may have also noticed that there's lots of food on this table. And a lot of people thought that this looked like a family. So sometimes when we think about the things that we actually need, we need happiness, we need food, and we need our family. We need people who love us. Family doesn't have to mean your parents or your grandparents. Not all of us have parents or grandparents, but we all have people that love us. We need people who love us. You need your teachers who love you very much. You need the people who take care of you, who love you very much. Your friends love you. I know Mrs. Dawson and Mr. DeVos, your principals, love you. And we all want what's best for you. And we need those people in our life. And so when you look at this painting and you imagine you're one of the people in this painting, they have everything they need, right? They have love, they have happiness, and they have food to eat. They have what they need to survive. So that is why Norman Rockwell called this painting Freedom from Want. And then the next questions I have for you guys are, what colors do you see in this painting? And what is your favorite thing about this painting? So my favorite thing about this painting is if you look down in the corner, there is one person in this painting who's looking right at us. He's way down in the corner, and that is actually Norman Rockwell. He painted himself into this painting, and I just love that he's like staring right at us, and you can tell by like the wrinkles by his eyes that he's smiling. And so yeah, that is my favorite part of this painting. I love that Norman Rockwell, the artist, decided to paint himself in this painting. So I kind of imagine that it's his family. And if you hadn't guessed it, this is a Thanksgiving dinner, which is why I chose this painting and this artist to teach you guys about right now. So this, to me, looks like Norman Rockwell's family gathered around for Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys enjoyed talking about this painting a little bit and learning about a little bit more about him and thinking about a painting and thinking about things that we actually need in this life here. So we talked about what we liked about that painting, but what do you like about Norman Rockwell? One of the things that I love about Norman Rockwell is if you look in this photograph of him, so this is a picture that somebody took of him, he is almost always smiling. He was a very happy guy. And I also love that all of his paintings, all of his drawings they're really happy. They're really positive. They show kind of a happier, lighter, funnier side of our everyday life. And he has a sense of humor. He likes to laugh and he likes to make people laugh, and that is my favorite thing about him. Some of my students this week said that they love that he's patriotic. They love that he loves his country. And I think that's pretty great too. So what do you like about Norman Rockwell? All right, so now you guys need to match the painting with its title. So feel free to pause the video. On the right-hand side are the titles of the painting. So there's Girl with Black Eye, Boy on High Dive, and Happy Birthday, Mrs. Jones. So go ahead and see which one you think matches with each painting. All right, so the top left one was Boy on High Dive, because he is a boy way up on a high dive. And if you have ever been on a high dive, you might be just as scared as him. I know I was. I chickened out. My first time having to jump off a high dive, I did not do it. And the second time, I got pushed by my swimming instructor. The second painting, the one in the middle, is Girl with Black Eye. And this one always makes me chuckle, and it also leaves me with a lot of questions, because it looks like a girl who is in trouble. She's sitting outside the principal's office, and she's kind of beat up, so it looks like she got into a fight, and she has a black eye. But the thing that makes me most confused is she seems to have a smile on her face. And I think if I were sitting outside the principal's office and I had gotten into a fight, I'm not sure I'd be smiling. Some of my students this week said maybe it's like a nervous smile, and that could be. Or maybe there's some other reason why she's smiling. I don't know. And this last one is one of my favorite Norman Rockwell paintings, probably because I'm a teacher, but it's called Happy Birthday, Mrs. Jones, and her students, you may be able to see, I know my head is probably covering part of it, but they wrote all over her board, Happy Birthday, and they have some surprises on her desk for her birthday to make their teacher feel super special on her birthday. So that painting always makes me smile, and I like it. All right, so the next thing you guys are going to be doing is a whole bunch of different options. So I will be posting these on your Maven card. There's a whole bunch of different options for you, and you guys get to choose what one you want to do. You won't be able to do all of these because some of them are only going to be for my in-person kids, because they're papers that have to be printed off. So your list will look a little smaller than this one. It won't have all of these included, but you will be able to do most of them. And then, of course, as always, when you're done, take a picture, send it to my email, vbergman@grantps.net, and I can't wait to see what you guys create. Alrighty, I'll see you guys soon. Happy Thanksgiving!